some people would use the word repressed to describe Americans' understanding or relation to or approach to sexology. I don't know what I think about that, but what do you think about that? And if so, why is that?
Well, sexology is as a discipline is not understood by most Americans. Most kids don't grow up thinking, I will be a sexologist when I grow up. Clearly I did, but most kids don't have that on the menu in class in high school when they're deciding what they're going to do. As far as sexuality in general is concerned, I think it has to do with some of our cultural history. This is a country that was begun by people fleeing religious repression, but they did bring strong ethical, moral, religious ideas and understandings with them, some of which had to do with the sexual realm. That's not the whole story by any means, but part of it today, this is continued today, because when somebody goes to sex ed class in high school, they're not talking about pleasure and connection. They're talking about, watch out, boys and girls, this might get you if you're not careful. And that's an important message to communicate. It's not by any means the only message to send about sex. And if somebody walks out of their teens mainly understanding sex as problematic and dangerous, it's going to be hard for them to find the joy in it in a really, truly healthy way on into their adulthood. And that's one of the things that I would point at, actually, to answer that question.
We were talking about, is there repression in American society in relation to sex? What if there wasn't? What do you think America would look like if we got over our fears of or whatever repressive tendencies we have in terms of sex?
Well, you know, we had a sexual revolution a few decades ago, and people like to talk about this all the time, and they say the pendulum swung the other way, and whoa, people swung from the chandeliers, and then they got over it. I'm not sure the narration is really that way, but what I do think is that there would be some people who would say, what, I'm not repressed, I can go do it in the road? Maybe they would, but what I really think would happen is people would begin to get access to real information, real in-depth information, information that was relevant to them, not relevant to people that they're not very much like. The diversity of sexual profiles would be honored and understood, and we would have the information that we needed, not only to keep us safe, but to connect with others in an intimate and pleasurable way and facilitate relationships and facilitate our own pleasure. So my utopian vision is actually not quite as do it in the road as some people's might be. And I think that we are slowly moving that way, at least in parts of our culture. Certainly there's more discourse, open discourse and smart, interesting, accessible discourse than there was 20, 30, 40 years ago. Not everyone gets access to it, and not everyone is comfortable with it. So we're only partway there, if indeed there is a destination that we're really heading.
Is there a culture in the world that you think has, if you will, a healthier relationship to discourse of sex or practice of sex? Just wondering what you think.
Well, I think when I hear that question of certain countries in Northern Europe that aren't quite as fraught about sexuality issues and relationship configuration issues and sexual orientation issues as many parts of America seem to be. But, you know, sex is something that all humans share at least the potential for. Sexual diversity is in all cultures, and everybody has to make their way to peace with those things as individual people and as a culture together. And I don't know that I can think of a culture that I can say, well, they've got it nailed. They've got it all figured out. I think we're all humans on a process together of figuring out how to not be afraid of this, how to optimize it, how to teach about it, how to learn about it, how to stay safe, how to have fun, how to have pleasure and intimacy. It's a lot. And
that's a lot.
And it cuts across all kinds of lines, all kinds of demographics, all kinds of cultures.
So I guess we don't buy a plane ticket. We stay here and work on your list.
You know, you didn't ask me about vacations. Vacations are good, but but yes, we stay where we are and we try to figure out what the culture needs to be healthy and happy around sexuality and try to make it so.
Carol, if you were to invent a new sex toy, what would it be?
All right. That is a great question. I want to say that I don't even need to invent this sex toy because several years ago, Good Vibrations had the Sex Toy You Wish Existed contest. And I'm going to tell you about the winner of that contest because I can't do any better than this. This is brilliant. This relies on a technology that is only just now becoming extant. It has not become available to the general public yet, but this was invented by a retired high school principal in upstate New York who said that in the future we would be able to record our sexual experiences and play them back. And I know that we have a memory for that, but eventually that may fade. It would be nice to have a recording. And I was just listening to some fancy schmancy TV science show the other day where somebody was talking about a growing ability to record experience. They're going to use it first to help people who are paraplegic and quadriplegic walk again. Remember in their mind the physical steps that it might take to, I think they're going to put them in a carapace of some kind. I don't think sex is going to actually require a carapace, but maybe that would be a fun extra.
You know, in the next room, or the vibrator play, the play we're doing on stage, actually has a character who speaks about an invention in the future, which is very similar to the one your high school principal wants to invent.
I think all we have to do is let a few more decades go by, let the scientists do their wonderful work that I don't even begin to understand, really. There's some brain waves in there. I know that much. This isn't actually my specialty, the brainwaves part, but I actually think that we will, as a people, begin to develop a way to record a memory. And what a fantastic, fascinating science fiction future that is. And if people think about it for just a minute, they could understand how profound it would be to be able to do that.
I love my job. I get to hang out with people like Carol Quinn.
And I love my job. I get to ask people that kind of question and get answers like that. Sam, thank you so much.
Thanks, girl.